We're all just still soaking it in. Cooper Flagg has committed to play basketball for the Duke Blue Devils. What could be next in the class of 2024 recruiting? There's an exhibition basketball game tomorrow, and the real thing starts next Monday. So much to discuss here on today's show.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. It's so great to have you here with us on this Tuesday, October 31st, 2023. Happy Halloween to everyone out there. Excited to have you being a part of this episode of Locked On Blue Devils. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you watch our show each and every day. Our podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. Super excited to be a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your team every single day. Leave us all the reviews out there. 5-star ratings are the absolute best. If you ever have mailbag questions, please make sure that you send those to us, lockedonbluedevils@gmail.com, or on Twitter at @LO_Blue Devils. Cooper Flagg is a Duke Blue Devil. We've got to talk about that once again here on today's show with our good pal Josh Cox. We're also 1 day away from an exhibition game for Duke men's basketball and 6 days away from the start of their season. So a lot to discuss here on today's show. So let's bring in our good pal Josh Cox, who joins us each and every week. And man, oh man, what a fun Monday that was, celebrating the commitment of Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, I mean, Duke fans have been waiting for it, right? I know there have been a lot of banter back and forth online with some UConn fans, and you know, thinking that Danny Hurley had pulled one over. And you know, I respect to Cooper Flagg. I think he waited a few days from that tragedy that took place up in Maine. Just a few days ago, I kind of waited to do his, waited a couple of extra days for that. But yeah, what a way to start your week off, getting that news that he had committed, for sure. I mean, I don't know what you think. I'm hearing people, it's hard to compare, but there's hype around Cooper Flagg that reminds you of the hype around, a guy like LeBron way back in the day. And I'm not saying in any way he's that good, but there's just so much hype right now around him. So really cool to see, once again, Jon Scheyer winning on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, I mean, what a big player he is. So many people talking about Cooper Flagg. It was a big story when he reclassified out of the summer. Amazing performances that he continued to have at EYBL over the summer as well. And now he's ultimately made the decision to end up at Duke. He talked about recently in some videos that he's done with Slam, a part of their cover shoot, where he announces the commitment. By the way, first time ever that a recruit has announced their commitment in a cover reveal for Slam magazine, which is pretty sick. But he was talking about, all it took was really the unofficial visit. And once he saw the unofficial visit, paraphrasing just a little bit, but that really seemed to seal the deal. And then once he came back for the official visit, that was just the nail in the coffin, money in the bank right there, so to speak, to get the job done.
For sure. And I mean, I think everyone knew, even UConn fans knew that, historically that family had been a Duke family as far as fanhood and things like that. And, you heard interviews with Cooper where he said he patterned his game after, Duke players, and mentioned, like, we mentioned Jason Tatum, we mentioned Grayson Allen and others, which I'm sure when people hear that he patterned his game after Grayson Allen, they're gonna love him. But maybe he'll wear number 32 at Duke too, so they can really love him. But yeah, I think it was, I'm not going to say it was always a done deal for Duke, but I believe that people in the know continuously kept that warm, hot crystal ball towards Duke on him. And I don't know, legitimately how close UConn even came.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Duke is able to get this commitment now prior to the high school season starting, knowing that they've got a couple of big other recruits out there as well, trying to add to the class, is great. We don't have to worry about the status of Cooper Flagg now that he's there in the book. Saw this earlier as well. from CBS Sports. The number one overall prospects now in Duke program history. Cooper Flagg becomes the 5th, along with R.J. Barrett, Jahlil Okafor, Marvin Bagley III, and Josh McRoberts. Little fun company there for Cooper Flagg.
Oh, McBob.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it depends on what outlet you look at too. I heard some people say, because with all the moving around that happened in the 2020, I guess in the 2022 year, Lively was number one on some boards, for that 2022 class. And I do still think it's comical, and nothing against RJ at all. It's just funny to me to think back in that recruiting time to think that Zion was not the number one.
And that it was RJ.
Recruit.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think a good point to make there. Yeah. Seeing what they're doing. Shout out to both those guys off to a good start in their third years there in the league. So, well, we're talking about this Duke team, and we're talking about potential impacts of this recruitment. Another decision coming up on Saturday. Patrick Ngaba II will announce his college decision. He has told us the date. I'm a big fan of that, Josh. I'm not going to lie. Like, when it comes to trying to figure out when these guys are going to commit, tell us when it's going to happen so that we're not totally caught off. Although there is a little bit of pure joy in the, oh, wow, here it is all of a sudden from Cooper Flagg. But I like that we just kind of know when these commitments are going to take place.
Yeah, it's great for the fan base. It's great for whoever's going to be, streaming his decision and, all those types of things, which is really cool. And here's the thing. These guys have earned it. I mean, they're elite talents. They're 5-star recruits. They have a great following, and they've done really well for themselves. And, the first 18 years of their lives, I love the fact that they kind of get their moment here on their own recruiting. And so, I'm not a recruiting insider by any stretch of the imagination, JJ, but people that are much more knowledgeable of this stuff than I am have been dropping hints throughout this entire week of, hey, Duke's not finished. Duke's not finished. So that's all I can tell you is Duke's not finished from what I've been told.
I can't wait to see how exactly they finish with that class of 2024, and we'll continue to talk about that a little bit more after we take our first time out here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. This is, of course, America's #1 sports book, and you need to get in on all of the NFL action. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's right, $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than now. This is a bet just regarding the money line, but they've also got so many other betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So go ahead, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL. Moving forward here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, JJ Jackson alongside Josh Cox from Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast. So Josh, talking a little bit more about Cooper Flagg, the #1 player in the country, committing to play for Duke, a very dynamic player with what he's going to be able to bring to the floor and do for this team. Just really excited about the versatility that's in place there. Many people do believe in that front court area that we could be watching the final season of Kyle Filipowski before he starts his professional career. So some big spots are going to be up for grabs going into next season.
Yeah, and I mean, think about it. Cooper Flagg busted onto the scene, a little over a year and a half ago. And I believe he's more than capable, like more than capable. Here's the cool thing about the kid. He will come in and have to fill some big shoes depending on what happens with this roster at the end of the season. But even watching him in like the Rucker Park games, he's not just like an athletic basketball player. He's like a gamer, like intelligent, like studier of the game, like clutch, give me the ball in key situations, hit a big shot. He's that kind of a guy. And like, that's what honestly, as much as his physical presence impresses everyone that watches him play, like the cerebral part of the game to me that he seems to possess. And once again, we're watching him on the high school level.
Sure.
But the cerebral part of his game is what I believe will help him as he does step into that role at Duke. Let's say it is, say Philip, maybe say there's a mass exodus, right, of their second-year players, and they all take off. and he has to really step into a leadership role. I believe he's prepared. I really do. And the crazy thing is that he was really supposed to be a 2025 guy, and he's better and still as dominant in that 2024 class.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good point to talk about when you look at next year, because so many people are trying to figure out, okay, what is the scholarship situation kind of looking like with the Duke basketball team? Who's coming back? Who's going? There's still 3 extending offers in 2024. You mentioned already some of the sophomores that could possibly go after this season. We know a captain and a really big voice for the Duke team, Ryan Young, no longer has eligibility at the college level. So he's got to move on following this season. Jeremy Roach, a 2-time captain now for Duke, does have a COVID year of eligibility that he could use if he so chooses. Now, whether or not Duke grants him a scholarship to do that for the Blue Devils, we don't know. But I mean, it's just like there are so many moving parts, which is why it is so good that it feels like Cooper Flagg would be kind of comfortable stepping into that spot. It's very evident watching him play out on the circuit or for Montverde Academy that guys want to be around him. They want to play with him. And yeah, he could be kind of stepping in, and everybody on the team, his peers included, are going to be looking towards him.
Yeah, and then the question, is like, can he adjust to the college game, the quickness of it, the spacing of it, the competition level. Obviously, this is just a step in his journey, and so is this a good, positive, a successful step in his journey, or do some of these guys trip up a little bit, in this college 1 year of college, but at the end of the day, it was it's telling of John Shire, Jay Lucas, and the rest of that staff. That they can recruit the best of the best. Obviously, I know when Kay retired, there were some question marks around recruiting. Looking at those first 3 classes, 1, 2, and 1 now. Those first three years of John Shire's recruiting, I'd say he's still an elite level recruiter, and with or without Kay on the sideline. So that's a really, really big win. Really big win.
Well, yeah, what a start. I mean, people are talking about John Shire a lot these days, and rightfully so, when they see another commitment for Cooper Flagg. It kind of felt assumed and that he would end up at Duke, and that John Shire would be able to go out there and get the next kind of premier guy in the sport. Now, you start to think about what could be after that. You think about AJ DeBonsa, the Boozer twins in the class following this current one. It won't be too long before we're kind of shifting our attention and moving on to those next guys, hoping that Duke can kind of land those commitments while we still have to fill out this 2024 class.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Cooper did what was best for him in moving up into the 2024 class instead of staying in 2025. And we can talk about this because, we talk about Duke. What it did also do was open the door wide for Cameron Boozer. That can be his class, right? That 25 class can be his, and there wouldn't be any like back and forth, and not that there would be like animosity, but you know what I mean. You kind of have people that own classes. That we mentioned the RJ Zion class, one of the few classes that really had some really, really high level talent at the top that played together and they got along fine. But you know how it can be. I mean, you got guys that maybe they're 1 and 2 in the class and they're like, okay, let's not play together because we have to share the ball and our skills won't be showcased as much. So this does open that up. Cooper Flagg can kind of, if you want to look at it this way, he can kind of captain that 2024 class and then open the door wide for someone like a Cameron Boozer to kind of captain that 2025 class. So, one question mark too, I would say this, because I don't know what the rest of our episode is going to be about, but the one thing that I think has got to happen, interestingly, will be how does Cooper Flagg and how does the sheer number of people affect any of the other guys like Isaiah Evans that play on the wing. How will that affect it? How will it affect, a player maybe like a Jared McCain or somebody who's going to be a sophomore next year? Because obviously that wing area is going to be crowded with a lot of talent.
So much talent, and excited to see it kind of all come together. That's been kind of the big question mark. And that's what we've seen John Shire do 1 year of, right? We know what recruiting looks like for Coach Shire. It's been elite year and year and year again. We've only got 1 full season of basketball on the floor product to really talk about. And considering all the circumstances of last year, to turn them into ACC champions and one of the best teams in all of college basketball by the time March came around, Great job on his part. Let's see if he can do it again this season. And you and I both think they're going to be able to do that. You're right. They are. We are going to be able to talk about this season at hand. That's now 6 days away from starting.
Yeah.
But just got to talk a lot about recruiting this time of year because Patrick Ngaba II, big decision coming up on Saturday. Still offers out there for VJ Edgecombe and Dylan Harper that need to make their decisions. The Boozer twins in 2025. And then once again, like we talked, AJ DeBonta is the number one player in the class of 2026. And all of a sudden he says, you know what? I want to be 2025. So a lot of premier targets out there that this Duke staff has kind of been linked to. So we'll see how all of it comes together. But if there is any staff that can do it, it hasn't just been a one-man mission for Coach Shire. He's got a lot of other guys that are getting shout-outs from the guys out there being recruited right now and freshmen on the current team with the work that the assistant coaches put in.
Right. I mean, and it is a different world now. When you have those elite level guys, they begin their NBA planning, back when they're in high school. And it's like, okay, if I can skip a year or move up a year in the recruiting, then I get to college 1 year sooner, meaning I get to the NBA 1 year sooner, which really their goal is I get that extension or that second contract 1 year sooner. That's really what all these guys are trying to do that are high level. They want to get that second contract. And so the quicker they get to college, the quicker they get out of college, the quicker they can make that money, man. And I mean, they can make it while they're in college now, which I'm cool. But it's all these guys have agents early now. These guys have people that help them. And there's a master plan in place for all of these guys. Now, for some of them, it doesn't turn into a reality. But for some of them, it does. And they start planning, sophomore year of high school for it.
6 days away from the start of the new season. We'll talk about that after our final timeout here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends at Game Time, the best spot for last-minute tickets. Make sure you check out the Game Time app. It's the only ticketing app that can give you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show you your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees. Buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Let me give a shout-out here to my mom. Mom and I got a chance to go up to Atlanta last night, watch the Hawks take on the Timberwolves. Our guy Jalen Johnson, the former Duke Blue Devil, a couple of nasty dunks, a 40-point game for DeJounte Murray. Got to make that move thanks to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Moving forward, once again, here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, Josh Cox is here with me. You're a busy man these days. We've got midweek Duke football. We've got a game tomorrow, exhibition style, for Duke basketball, the first real game of the season on Monday. Where in the world can people find you? Where can they find your work, Josh? What would you like to plug and promote?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're a Duke football fan, we have all the stuff that we're doing with DukeFootballTalk.com. At Duke FB Talk on social media. We run the Section 17 podcast, which is a deep dive into Duke football every week. We cover the game that just happened and the upcoming game. So we encourage you to take advantage of that. And then as I will share with JJ offline, something new for me this year is I'll be working with at Duke Report and Freddie Hodges during basketball season this year and doing not every basketball game, but doing a handful, 8 or 9 Duke home basketball games as media. And so you can find, I believe the first game I'll be doing is the November 6th game. And so that's this coming Monday. And so you can follow at Duke Report to kind of see those updates. I'm going to try to spice it up a little bit and bring some fun stuff to the table over there. But a really cool opportunity for me, something that if you just told me as a kid that I would be able to, sit in front of on the front row of Cameron with the crazies breathing down my neck, and cover Duke basketball, I'd never believe you. So it's really cool.
Here we are, man, making it happen. Yeah, at Joshua Cox on Twitter, at Duke FB Talk, at Duke Report. Follow all those things to see some coverage because the season is now 6 days away.
Yeah.
An exhibition game tomorrow against UNC Pembroke. Should be fun to get those guys out of there. barring catastrophe like we saw once again from those Louisville Cardinals, who have lost once again to a D2, D3 school, Kentucky Wesleyan. Let's hope that that does not happen with Duke. I'm more so kind of focused on that season opener, but it's going to be good to see Duke playing a game. And we got Countdown to Craziness. We were able to react the way that we like to. But now 5 Duke guys playing together against a completely different team is what is going to become the norm as we've made it. The season's here.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that they've been playing against each other forever. They did have that secret scrimmage or whatever against Villanova, which is, their first time playing, against a normal opponent that does different things than Duke does, right? So, I think that's probably very helpful for the team. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting in these exhibition games. Obviously, you don't look into them too much, but, what is Coach Shire's idea for the rotation? Initially who starts, who's the first 2 or 3, that come off the bench. Does he kind of give the nod to his older guys, Jalen Blakes, those types of guys who have proven themselves over the years to be worthy of minutes? Or does, he see what these, a lot of these freshmen have? It's going to be interesting, man. I do not envy John Shire's job this season. Not because, obviously it's so much talent, but just to be able to manage that talent and to be able to get that talent balanced on the floor properly. He's got his work cut out for him.
And he's going to be able to do it. We love him. Let's see it all come together. And that's the one question, I think, when you look at the first start of the season, balancing all the talent. I want to know these first 4 weeks, how deep, seriously, is that rotation? Are we really putting 10 guys out there on the floor that are each given at least, 8 to 10 minutes a game of floor time out there? And then at what point in the season does it get cut back, and how much does it get cut back in terms of the rotation that's out there? Because 12 scholarship players on this Duke team, all worthy of some run. What does that rotation look like, man? That's a big question I've got.
Yeah, because you just said it, but to kind of say it concisely, Coach Shire's got to figure out from 12 to 10, more than likely early in the season. And then he's got to probably get it from 10 to 8 for the postseason. It's who are those guys going to be? And can he keep the guys that are not getting as much playing time fully engaged? And, obviously recruiting now is not just recruiting, your high schoolers. It's also recruiting your current players to stay with you. And so, at the end of the day, it's a great problem. Honestly, think about it. It's a great problem to have. But it is something that it's going to be interesting to watch and see how Coach Shire and the rest of the staff, handle the roster this season.
Excited to see it all come together. Again, Duke basketball is back tomorrow against UNC Pembroke. We've got a football game on Thursday against Wake Forest. Make sure you go check all the good things that Josh Cox is doing and support him with all of that. Josh, amazing seeing you once again here on the show today. Thanks for being here.
Hey, JJ, thanks for having me on, man. Duke's doing well in the NBA as well, and it's a good time to be a Blue Devil.
Absolutely. It's a great time to be a Blue Devil. We'll be back with you again tomorrow for another great episode of Locked On Blue Devils. November is here. Can you believe it? Yeah, Duke basketball. They've got a game tomorrow. First game of the season on November 6th. My birthday on the 7th. Exciting times here coming up with Locked On Blue Devils. That'll do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.